Hi, I'm Clemens, and this is episode 31 of Life in Lists of 30. I love writing lists of 30, and today I wanted to share the lessons I've learned from recording these past 30 podcasts. I've done it! I've officially created a podcast and recorded 30 episodes. You can find it on your podcatcher of choice on Spotify, Stitcher, Apple, Google, YouTube, Pocketcasts, everything. Because I am an overachiever, I've embedded tasks to put 30 suggested improvements throughout this podcasting journey. The goal was to make this podcast an improvement evolution so I could just get started. If you're new to making podcasts, here's some things that I improved along the way and some lessons learned. Here we go. 1. Make it easy for yourself to focus on content creation rather than logistics. As with any entrepreneurship, the logistics will always get in the way of the fun part, so take care of the boring operational pieces first so you can focus on the fun stuff. 2. Set up your schedule and be flexible with changing it. I use Google Docs as a running log format where you can just read all the content that I've been reading out loud, as well as Google Sheets. Instead of anything too fancy, I just have a spreadsheet of different tasks and check them off along the way. 3. For scheduling, consider your own sanity as well as your listeners' ability to keep up with your content creation. At first, I started with 3 times a week and had to reduce it to twice a week, and now moving forward, I'm only going to do it once a week. It really kept my stress levels a little bit lower by sticking to a more reasonable schedule. 4. Learn to use your tools and watch some YouTube videos or webinars for tips and tricks. I used Canva for making my logos and splash screens for sharing. I used Simple Mind Pro, which was on my mobile, for making my mind maps. I kind of did all of them at once. Camtasia, which got comfortable with editing video and audio. Audacity, after I started, I added on additional audio enhancements using Audacity. And I also used the Yeti microphone setup. There's a bunch of additional software and tools after you set up. 5. Set up your content and do all of the annoying work at once inside of templates and images. So first, I scheduled all my posts for all the lists of 30 that I wanted to do. I picked out my favorite 30 list and then exported them with full scheduling on dates following the spreadsheet that I showed you. It takes about 2 hours to do. Then I created and exported from Canva all of the episode names ahead of time, which took about another 2 hours. And then I created templates and base posts for all of the podcast episodes with these uploaded images ahead of time. So the standard text is what I did for the podcast posting and credit to music. Those are all just copy and pasted. And then I started scheduling all of these so that it's all I need to do was upload the audio and then publish. So that took about 3 hours. I created also some YouTube templates with the above text with all the uploaded video and made it into a playlist. That took maybe half an hour. And then I created all the mind maps and exported them as images so I can post them on Instagram when the posts go live accordingly. That took about 4 hours. And then I copied all of the previous posts into a running log so that I could just write all of the commentary on top of it. Here, my podcast recordings are a little bit different from the posts themselves because I added different commentary, but that took also probably a majority of the time, so maybe 5 or 6 hours. 6. Set up your microphone and equipment properly. I have an Amazon buy list from the post. I bought a Blue Yeti, which was about $130, a Sony MD5 7506 headphone, which was about $100. Those are fitting on my headphones right now, if you can see me on the YouTube video. I have a pop filter for about $8, which hopefully helps with the P's. Hopefully the mic doesn't pick up those sharp P tones. And 4, a tripod setup. So I have this mic stand that I can get the mic off the table on the swivel arm so it looks super dramatic when I swivel it in. 7. Definitely get a mic stand. I just mentioned this mic stand. The mic will pick up a bunch of vibrations from the table just from you sitting there. I even heard the scrolling of my mouse when I was moving the script when I was reading it. It may seem like an extra purchase, but I think it overall improved the value of the audio quality. 8. Set up your recording and editing flow. So the next 11 steps or so is kind of how I edit. 1. Record on Camtasia with video and screen share. My videos are just of me reading the scripts, so it's not really that exciting. But it is easier to do, and I just wanted to get it done. So there you go. You have a YouTube videos of me just reading scripts. 2, import the 3 tracks, so you get audio, the camera itself, and the screen share. I move the camera so that the recording takes up more screen, and the rest of it follows through. 3, listen through the recording and do a split of all the 3 tracks. 4, delete any mess-ups and touch-ups as needed. Since I'm pretty low production value, I don't really try to splice sounds from different recording tracks to get it perfect. I just kind of record it all at once. 5, save the Camtasia file, open up a previous recording to copy the beginning and end audio track that I've already done and paste it into the new track. That seems to work well with me. 6, move the whole track around to fit the audio flow. I usually choose a 3-second intro music with an overlap on the talking side. I've also done direct talking and then the soundtrack to split up the intro. Next, 7, I export the MP4 with Camtasia, and then I import that into Audacity to run a macro for my audio enhancements. I have a section on that next. 9, I export to MP3 and fill out all the track metadata. 10, I upload to the Substack post, which I've already created in a template. And then 11, I set the publishing time to 5 a.m. on either Tuesday or Friday. Okay, 9, remember that you can edit, so don't feel so stressed out to get it perfect. If you mess it up, pause and then go back to the beginning of the list or paragraph and just keep on going. I've messed up a few times already, and hopefully you can't tell because I've edited this. 10, make sure to check time for dead air. My first 10 episodes or so had like 3 minutes of dead air at the end because my export kept the sound from the video track that I didn't edit. Since I was doing the video cutting as well, and then later on it led me to create the YouTube channel afterwards. 11, remember to edit the dialogue first and make sure that's all good before you add on any other layers. 12, if this were more professional, I'd record myself talking multiple times in the same line. This would give me more content for the production person to splice in different sounds as needed. I personally opted out from doing this so I can make my editing process a little bit more streamlined. 13, set up your channels of communication and optimize your publishing flow. So I first directly published only to lists-of30.com. From there, I created a modal that would pop up so that on my site, clemons.com, you could see a subscription for lists-of30.com Substack. And then finally, I have Instagram posts that specifically, with the days new content is published, I created that mind map and then also posted a blog post along with it. This wound up being a lot of work, so I just did one post to the mind map instead of multiple posts with the other images. 14, try publishing at different times. I published at 5 a.m. because I wanted the email to be in somebody's inbox when they first woke up. I tried 5 p.m. and 10 p.m. as well. Substack does provide stats on the open rate and click-through of the site, and I found that 5 a.m. tends to have more opens overall for the day. 15, set up Audacity so it can read MP4 files. You have to include a base macro as well. The MP4 file setup is just downloading a library. The macro I created was a mix of multiple guides. I do a compressor, a bass treble, and a limiter. There's also many tools to help you play around with this, but I really just wound up limiting it so that it wouldn't be too loud and too piercing, and I just played around with it. 17, talk to your friends about podcasting. I was able to make a few connections and a lot of great recommendations. Special shout out to Stu Stanley, who basically helped me with most of my setup and operational plans. It's no Blue Bloods sound mixing, but I think I've done a pretty good job here. 18, get feedback from your listeners. Ask them what they like and don't like. Try to incorporate their feedback. 19, give your listeners a shout out to get them involved. Ask them for ideas for lists of 30, or make sure their suggestions are pointed out within the podcast. 20, try different intro and outro songs. Your podcast can have its own vibe, and it could be fun listening to all the royalty-free music out there. 21, when picking your song, consider that most people listen to podcasts at either 1.5 or 2 times speed. I personally listen to 1.3. I actually slowed down my music because the beats were too fast for 1.5. 22, Test recording in different environments. I tried a closet, in my basement, a different room, under a blanket. Clothes will prevent any echoes and make post-production editing a lot easier. 23. Instead of purely reading the list items, add additional sentences on context. I still wind up writing these up in the script, but I thought it was valuable having different content between the blog post and the podcast. 24. Set a target length for your podcast. There's short form that's under 10 minutes. The comedy ones are usually around 30 or so. The conversational ones are 60 to 70 minutes. And the really long-winded ones usually don't go over 90 minutes. 25. Try making a bonus episode if your podcast goes over your target time and put it into bonus content. 26. Involve other people. I did a podcast set up for my wife, and hopefully we'll be able to do a collab episode in the future. 27. Consider a guest. Most podcasts are interviews and leverage the network of networks effect of guests sharing it to their own communities. The reason for not having a guest is removing the variable of scheduling talks and working on dependencies that would just ruin my personal schedule. 28. Go off script. I think conversational comes out better than script reading. It's such a hard skill to master, to be honest, but going off script has come up a bit in my personal reflections. 29. Consider a collaboration with other like-minded shared audience podcasts. I think a lot of what I've written aligns nicely with Life Kit from NPR. Maybe I'll reach out to them at some point. And finally, 30, have fun. I am very good at discipline and scheduling, but it's always important to enjoy the process and celebrate success. Well, that's it. That's 30 episodes. On the next episode, I will talk through the 30 principles for writing lists of 30. I think it was something I wanted to cover as my first episode, but I never got around to it, and it kind of got pushed off to the end. So happy to cover that if anyone wants to write lists of 30. And then afterwards, I have another 30 favorite lists of 30 that I will post maybe once a week, and I'll do a quick podcast reading of it as well. Music is by Kristen Dye. You can find her on Instagram at Iron and Silver. She has videos of incredible duets and also powerlifting. You can subscribe to the newsletter and see a very transparent set of Google Docs and spreadsheets of this podcasting journey at listsof30.com. Thank you for listening, and I hope everyone stays safe.